Today I lost my last hope. These 7 words, written in the private diary of Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, mark one of the most devastating moments in his life. The man who controlled the fate of 60 million people, who commanded the greatest military force on earth, who had unlimited wealth and power, was writing about the complete collapse of his deepest dreams. But here's what's extraordinary. The man who wrote these words of despair became history's greatest teacher of wisdom. The leader who experienced betrayal at the deepest level transformed into the most trusted guide for dealing with disappointment. The father whose heart was shattered by his own son became the ultimate mentor for anyone facing life's cruelest lessons. How does someone go from, "I lost my last hope," to becoming the wisest person who ever lived? How do you transform the deepest pain into the strongest foundation? How do you turn betrayal into a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block? Marcus Aurelius discovered something that most people never learn. Your greatest disappointments can become your greatest teachers, but only if you know how to listen to what they're trying to teach you. Today, we're going to explore the 10-step transformation method that Marcus developed through his most painful experiences. These aren't just philosophical concepts, they're practical tools forged in the fire of real betrayal, tested by imperial-level heartbreak, and proven effective across 2,000 years. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, disappointed by someone you believed in, or heartbroken by life not turning out the way you expected, then what you're about to learn will fundamentally change how you process pain and build strength. Because the same method that helped an emperor heal from the ultimate family betrayal can help you transform your heartbreak into wisdom, your disappointment into resilience, and your pain into power. The greatest betrayal in history. Before we dive into the methods, you need to understand the context of Marcus Aurelius' transformation, because the scale of his disappointments makes his recovery even more remarkable. Marcus became emperor in 161 AD, inheriting not just power, but responsibility for the largest civilization in human history. But what he really inherited was a series of devastating challenges that would test every principle he believed in. First came the Antonine Plague, which killed millions of his subjects. Then Germanic tribes began massive invasions along the northern borders. Natural disasters struck repeatedly. The treasury was drained by constant warfare and relief efforts. But the personal betrayals cut deeper than any public crisis. Marcus had spent decades grooming senators and generals whom he trusted completely. Many of these men, when faced with the empire's challenges, chose personal gain over public service. Generals he had promoted sold military supplies for profit. Senators he had trusted spread rumors about his leadership. Advisors he had mentored plotted against him in secret. Yet none of these betrayals compared to the ultimate heartbreak, his own son. Marcus had devoted his life to raising Commodus to be the perfect emperor. He brought the finest tutors, shared his philosophical insights, included him in important decisions, and poured all his hopes for the empire's future into this young man. But Commodus was becoming everything Marcus despised. Where Marcus valued virtue, Commodus craved pleasure. Where Marcus sought wisdom, Commodus pursued entertainment. Where Marcus practiced discipline, Commodus indulged every desire. The breaking point came when Marcus realized that his son, his heir, his legacy, his greatest investment, was going to become a tyrant who would destroy everything Marcus had spent his life building. In his private diary, Marcus wrote, "Today I lost my last hope." He was referring to the moment he accepted that Commodus would never become the leader he had dreamed of. But instead of becoming bitter, angry, or vengeful, Marcus used this devastating disappointment as raw material for wisdom. Instead of letting betrayal make him cynical, he let it make him compassionate. Instead of allowing heartbreak to close his heart, he used it to understand the human condition more deeply. The 10 methods he developed through this process aren't just about healing from betrayal, they're about using betrayal as a catalyst for becoming the person you were meant to be. Method 1. Accept reality without denial. The first step toward wisdom, Marcus wrote, is accepting what is, rather than demanding what should be. When Marcus realized that Commodus would never become the leader he had hoped for, his initial impulse was the same as any parent's: denial. Maybe he'll change. Maybe this is just a phase. Maybe I can still influence him. But Marcus forced himself to see clearly. His son was who he was, not who Marcus wanted him to be. The senators were acting from their nature, not Marcus's expectations. The challenges facing the empire were real, not imaginary. This wasn't passive resignation, it was active acceptance. Marcus wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate associates you." The psychological genius of this approach is that denial requires enormous energy. When you're fighting against reality, you're using all your mental and emotional resources trying to change what's already happened or deny what's currently true. Acceptance frees up that energy for response. Instead of wasting power on "this shouldn't be happening," you can invest it in "given that this is happening, what's my best response?" Modern application: when someone betrays you, your mind will create stories. They didn't mean it. They'll apologize. This is just a misunderstanding. While hope is natural, clinging to false hope prevents healing. Practice seeing the situation exactly as it is, without the filter of what you wish it were. Method 2. Separate the person from their actions. When someone wrongs you, Marcus observed, remember that they acted according to their own understanding, not yours. This was perhaps the most difficult method for Marcus to master, especially regarding Commodus. How do you separate love for your child from disappointment in their choices? How do you distinguish between caring for someone and approving of their behavior? Marcus discovered that people are not their actions. Commodus, the person, his son, with his own struggles and limitations, was different from Commodus, the future tyrant whose decisions would harm the empire. This separation allowed Marcus to continue loving his son while opposing his policies. It enabled him to maintain compassion for the senators while protecting himself from their schemes. It helped him understand that betrayal often comes from people's weakness, not their malice. Marcus wrote, "Whenever you want to cheer yourself, consider the good qualities of your companions." Even after betrayal, he could still acknowledge what was good in people while protecting himself from what was harmful. This doesn't mean excusing bad behavior or making yourself vulnerable to repeated harm. It means recognizing that humans are complex, capable of both loyalty and betrayal, love and selfishness, wisdom and foolishness. Modern application: when someone disappoints you, practice separating who they are from what they did. You can love someone and still set boundaries. You can care about someone and still protect yourself. You can understand someone's struggles without accepting their harmful behavior. Method 3. Extract the lesson from the loss. Every obstacle is an opportunity to practice virtue, Marcus discovered. Every betrayal is a chance to develop wisdom. When Commodus showed his true nature, Marcus could have focused on the loss, the wasted years of training, the destroyed hopes for the empire, the personal heartbreak of a father's dreams. Instead, he asked, "What is this teaching me?" The betrayal taught him about human nature, that people often act from self-interest rather than principle. The disappointment taught him about expectations, that having hopes for others can become a prison for yourself. The heartbreak taught him about love, that caring for someone means wanting their growth, not controlling their choices. Marcus wrote, "The mind that pursues the difficult path strengthens itself." He realized that easy relationships, smooth situations, and people who always meet your expectations don't develop character. It's the difficult people and disappointing situations that force you to grow. This method transforms you from victim to student. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of, "How could they do this?" you ask, "How can I grow from this?" The lesson isn't always obvious immediately. Sometimes it takes months or years to understand what a particular betrayal was trying to teach you. But approaching disappointment as education rather than punishment fundamentally changes your relationship with pain. Modern application: when facing betrayal or disappointment, ask yourself, what skill is this forcing me to develop? What blind spot is this revealing? What strength is this requiring me to build? Look for the curriculum hidden within the crisis. Method 4. Practice compassionate detachment. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy, Marcus concluded. This led him to one of his most powerful discoveries: compassionate detachment. Detachment doesn't mean not caring, it means caring without being controlled. Marcus still loved Commodus deeply, but he detached from the outcome of that love. He still wanted the best for the senators who betrayed him, but he detached from their approval. Compassionate detachment allowed Marcus to continue acting with kindness toward people who had hurt him, while protecting himself from further harm. He could wish them well without trusting them completely. He could hope for their growth without depending on their change. This is the opposite of both clinging, trying to control people's choices, and coldness, cutting off all care. It's caring with wisdom, loving with boundaries, hoping with realism. Marcus wrote, "You can commit injustice by doing nothing." Compassionate detachment doesn't mean passive withdrawal, it means engaged wisdom. You remain involved in people's lives to the extent that's healthy for both of you. With Commodus, this meant continuing to guide him when possible, while preparing the empire for leadership that might not come from his son. With the traitorous senators, it meant maintaining professional relationships while building safeguards against their self-interest. Modern application: practice caring about people's well-being without controlling their choices. Offer support without creating dependency. Maintain hope without creating expectation. Love people enough to let them make their own mistakes while protecting yourself from the consequences. Method 5. Rebuild your emotional boundaries. You have power over your mind, not outside events, Marcus reminded himself. Realize this, and you will find strength. After experiencing betrayal, many people either build walls, trusting no one, or leave themselves completely open, trusting everyone. Marcus discovered a third option: intelligent boundaries. He realized that the problem wasn't that he had trusted people, it was that he had trusted them with the wrong things. He had trusted Commodus with the empire's future, but he should have trusted him only with the person he actually was. He had trusted senators with virtue they hadn't developed. Marcus began distinguishing between different levels of trust. He could trust someone's basic humanity without trusting their decision-making. He could trust their intentions without trusting their capabilities. He could trust their care for him without trusting their wisdom about what was best for him. This created flexible boundaries rather than rigid walls. Marcus wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." He lowered his expectations of others while maintaining high standards for himself. These boundaries weren't about punishment or protection, they were about realism. By expecting people to act according to their nature rather than his hopes, Marcus could engage with them more effectively and with less disappointment. Modern application: after betrayal, resist the temptation to either trust everyone or trust no one. Instead, develop nuanced trust. Trust people with what they've proven they can handle. Expect people to act consistently with their demonstrated character, not your hopes for their character. Method 6. Transform expectations into appreciation. How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does, Marcus observed. One of Marcus's greatest discoveries was that expectations are often disguised demand. When he expected Commodus to become a great leader, he was really demanding that his son fulfill his dreams. When he expected senators to act virtuously, he was demanding that they meet his standards. Marcus learned to transform expectations into appreciation. Instead of expecting Commodus to become someone he wasn't, Marcus began appreciating who Commodus actually was, a young man with his own struggles, gifts, and limitations. Instead of expecting senators to be wise, He appreciated their attempts at service, however flawed. This shift from expectation to appreciation changed everything. Expectations create disappointment when unmet and entitlement when exceeded. Appreciation creates gratitude for what exists and joy for what exceeds the baseline. Marcus wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." He stopped taking good things for granted and started receiving them as gifts. This doesn't mean lowering standards or accepting mediocrity. Marcus maintained high standards for the empire and for himself. But he stopped demanding that others meet his internal standards and started appreciating their efforts to grow. Modern application: notice when you're disappointed by someone's behavior, then ask, "What was I expecting that created this disappointment?" Try replacing the expectation with appreciation for what the person does offer, while maintaining appropriate boundaries for what they don't. Method 7. Use disappointment as character training. The impediment to action advances action, Marcus discovered. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is perhaps Marcus's most famous insight, and it came directly from his experience with betrayal. Every disappointment became training for virtue. Every betrayal became practice for forgiveness. Every heartbreak became education in compassion. When Commodus disappointed him, Marcus used it as training for patience. When senators betrayed him, he used it as practice for justice without revenge. When friends abandoned him, he used it as education in self-reliance. Marcus wrote, "The universe is change, our life is what our thoughts make it." He realized that external events don't determine character, responses to external events determine character. This method transforms suffering from something that happens to you into something that happens for you. Pain becomes your personal trainer. Disappointment becomes your teacher. Betrayal becomes your strength coach. The key is conscious choice. Difficulty automatically creates opportunity for growth, but it doesn't automatically create growth. You have to choose to use the difficulty as training rather than just enduring it as punishment. Modern application: when facing disappointment, ask, "What virtue is this situation requiring me to develop? Patience? Courage? Wisdom? Compassion?" Then consciously practice that virtue in your response. View every challenge as customized training for the person you're becoming. Method 8. Develop immunity to future betrayals. The best way to take revenge on your enemies is to not be like them, Marcus concluded. But he went further. The best way to protect yourself from future betrayal is to become someone who can handle betrayal with grace. Marcus realized that the goal isn't to never be disappointed again, that would require either perfect judgment, impossible, or complete isolation, miserable. The goal is to become someone who can handle disappointment without being destroyed by it. He developed what we might call betrayal immunity, not the inability to be hurt, but the ability to recover quickly and learn effectively from being hurt. This immunity came from internal security rather than external control. Marcus couldn't control whether people would disappoint him, but he could control whether disappointment would devastate him. He wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. When your happiness depends on your own character rather than others' behavior, betrayal loses its power to destroy you." This doesn't mean becoming callous or cynical. Marcus remained open to deep relationships and continued trusting people appropriately. But he built an inner foundation that couldn't be shaken by external disappointments. Modern application: build your sense of worth, security, and happiness on things you control: your character, your growth, your contribution to others. The stronger your internal foundation, the less external betrayals can damage you. Method 9. Create wisdom from wounds. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, Marcus observed. He chose to dye his soul with wisdom rather than bitterness. After experiencing deep betrayal, Marcus faced a choice that everyone faces: become cynical or become wise. Cynicism says, People can't be trusted, so I'll trust no one. Wisdom says, people are complex, so I'll trust intelligently. Marcus chose wisdom. He used his painful experiences as raw material for understanding human nature more deeply. His betrayals taught him about the conditions that create loyalty and the pressures that create betrayal. His disappointments taught him about the difference between people's intentions and their capabilities. This wisdom became his gift to the world. Marcus's Meditations, the diary where he processed his deepest hurts, became one of history's most helpful books precisely because it was written by someone who had experienced real pain and found real healing. Marcus wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Instead of letting betrayal make him betrayer, he let it make him a better judge of character. Instead of letting disappointment make him disappointing, he let it make him more reliable. Modern application: ask yourself, how can my pain become helpful to others? What wisdom am I gaining from this wound that could prevent others from being wounded the same way? Transform your healing into service. Method 10. Turn your healing into service. We were born to work together, Marcus concluded. His final method was using his transformation to help others transform. Marcus realized that his experiences with betrayal and disappointment weren't just personal learning opportunities, they were preparation for serving others who would face similar challenges. His wisdom about handling difficult people helped him lead more effectively. His experience with disappointment helped him make better decisions under pressure. His practice with forgiveness helped him maintain justice without revenge. Marcus began seeing his wounds as qualifications rather than disqualifications. The pain he had experienced and healed from became his ability to help others heal. The betrayals he had processed became his understanding of how to prevent and recover from betrayal. He wrote, "What is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee." Marcus realized that individual healing is ultimately about collective healing. When you learn to transform pain into wisdom, you become a resource for others facing similar pain. This final method gives meaning to suffering. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you begin asking, "How can I use this experience to help others?" Your wound becomes your wisdom, your scar becomes your strength, your healing becomes your service. Modern application: once you've begun healing from betrayal or disappointment, look for opportunities to help others facing similar challenges. Share your insights, offer support, model the possibility of recovery. Turn your personal healing into collective healing. Marcus Aurelius went from writing, "Today I lost my last hope," to becoming history's most hopeful teacher of wisdom. He went from experiencing the ultimate betrayal to becoming the ultimate guide for dealing with betrayal. He went from heartbreak to becoming a healer of hearts. But this transformation wasn't automatic. It was a choice he made every day, using each of these 10 methods consistently and consciously. The same choice is available to you. You can let betrayal make you bitter or wise. You can let disappointment make you cynical or compassionate. You can let heartbreak make you closed or more open to the right people. Your greatest disappointments are not punishments, they're invitations. Invitations to develop strength you didn't know you had, wisdom you hadn't yet discovered, and compassion you hadn't yet accessed. The person who betrayed you didn't just hurt you, they also offered you the opportunity to become unbreakable. The situation that disappointed you didn't just set you back, it also set you up to develop resilience. The heartbreak you experienced didn't just damage you, it also revealed your capacity for healing. These 10 methods aren't just about recovering from betrayal, they're about using betrayal as a catalyst for becoming the person you were meant to be. Accept reality without denial, see clearly what is. Separate the person from their actions, love wisely. Extract the lesson from the loss, become a student of pain. Practice compassionate detachment, care without controlling. Rebuild your emotional boundaries, trust intelligently. Transform expectations into appreciation, receive gifts instead of demanding rights. Use disappointment as character training, let pain develop virtue. Develop immunity to future betrayals, build internal security. Create wisdom from wounds, transform pain into understanding. Turn your healing into service, use your recovery to help others recover. Marcus Aurelius would tell you, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your betrayal happened. Your disappointment is real. Your heartbreak matters. But none of these experiences have the power to determine who you become. That choice belongs to you. The question isn't whether you'll face betrayal and disappointment, you will. The question is whether you'll let these experiences make you weaker or stronger, bitter or wise, closed or compassionate. Marcus chose strength, wisdom, and compassion. His choice, written in a private diary 2,000 years ago, is still helping people heal today. What will you choose? And who will your choice help heal tomorrow? If this transformation method helps you turn your pain into power, share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe for more ancient wisdom that heals modern wounds. Remember, your greatest wound can become your greatest strength. But only if you choose transformation over devastation. Stay strong. Stay wise. Stay stoic.